Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats, and it's the house sampler blocks we're doing in this series. There's 20 different series to do in 2020 because 2020 is such an amazingly delicious year. So we're doing, as you can see, lots of blocks. We've done quite a few. There's 20 blocks that we're making as part of this series, and they're all like a sampler type quilt blocks, and they're all set into houses. So we're having a little bit of fun with this. We've done, as you can see, quite a lot of blocks already. We're up to block 16, and this is block 16 here. And so I've got my pieces already cut. If you've purchased the pattern from GourmetQuilter.com, you'll have received a page that looks a lot like this one, and it tells you about all the cutting and what you need for each block. So I've gone ahead and cut the patches according to the pattern, and so it's quite simple this time, just a couple of squares of two different colours. But we need to mark on the back of the one that I'm calling my background colour, this light grey colour. We just need to mark a single diagonal line down the centre from point to point on the back of that, because we're just going to make some half square triangles, which we've been doing. So this is actually quite similar to one of the previous blocks that we had made. And we're going to position these right sides together with the other fabric, and then we're going to sew. This time, instead of sewing on that line, we're going to sew 1/4 inch away either side of the line. So 2 lines of sewing either side of that centre line, because we're going to be cutting along that drawn line. So if you've got a 1/4 inch foot on your machine, that's quite helpful, because then you can just line up the edge of the machine with the line, and it will sew 1/4 inch away from the line for you. How amazing is that? So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch these, and then I will show you the next stage. So I've gone ahead and I've done my 2 lines of stitching. You can see it better on the other colour. And now we just need to cut down that line that we drew, the diagonal line there, to cut our 2 triangles apart. And we need all of these triangles for this block. I'm going to press them. I'm going to press them into the stronger colour. And then they do just need a little tiny trim, just a little whisker. It won't be very much, but it's worth doing just to make sure everything is the right size so that your block comes out nicely in the end. So it's usually just that tiniest little bit that you think, oh, was it worth it? But yes, it is worth it. So I've got a square ruler here, and I can just lay my diagonal line on the square, and I can see that there's just a little bit excess, and so it's best to trim it on all 4 sides. As I said, it really is just a tiny little whisker, just that little slither, just to make sure it's the right size, and then turn it round and trim the other 2 sides, lining up your sizing with your ruler and your diagonal line. Most square rulers have a diagonal line. If you don't have one, you can do it with your straight ruler as well. So it's just that tiny little bit that makes all the difference. So I'll go ahead and keep trimming my squares and then show you the next stage. So I've finished trimming my squares. You can see that my little whiskers really don't amount to very much there. So now we just need to sew these together. So this is quite similar to a block that we have done previously. We're just doing a different layout really. So because we've pressed the seams to the darker colour, they will nestle. We're just going to make 2 pairs of these 2 the same, because when we turn them round they're going to make the block for us. Although actually I don't know if we're turning this one, we might be repositioning it. We'll just have a little look. So I'm going to sew the seams on here now, just to make them into 2 pairs at the moment. And now we just need to press those. Pressing them both the same way. so what we want to do now is turn one of those around to make our block like that. So it's all a matter of how we put them together. We have made a block similar. This one up here was the same sort of construction, but we put the patches together in a different order so that we ended up with a different looking block altogether. So by making the two patches the same and turning one as seams and now nestling nicely, so we can just join those two together, and then I will suggest that we'll press that seam open. So I'll go ahead and do my seam, and then we've got to put the frame around the block as well, so I'll be back shortly. So I'm just pressing that last seam that I did open so that it sits a little bit flatter with all the corners and things where they meet. And now we just have to set our block into its walls. So I've got these frame strips already here. So I need to put the sides on, the top and bottom, so I'll go ahead and do that and show you the finished block when it's done. So I've got my frame or walls on to my block, and I'm just finally pressing them into the frame, and then that block is another one done. So that's quite exciting. That's looking a whole lot like that block there. So that was block 16. So we've still got a few to go. So thank you for watching block 16, and we'll be back again with block 17.